Oh, okay.
Oh, we're in there. Okay. 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 Oh, yeah, it is. Okay.
Start talking and I'll
Yeah.
move the camera. I'm gonna move the camera.
Okay. I just want to thank everyone for like taking time out of your day and then your busy day or your, exhausted. There.
Yeah, still there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so everyone taking time out of their, day and busy and tiring days, and this class is amazing. I mean, emotional release. Sometimes you think about emotional release and you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to go there, right? But the way I know Kelowna has presented it, it's amazing. It just, I know it's helped me. It's helped so many other people that I know. So, well, first, I want to share about, does everybody have a kit? A premium starter kit?
Yes.
Raise your hand if you don't have one. Yeah. And it's okay, so yeah. Like, do you? No?
I bought one a long time ago.
Oh, okay, so I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 of you, okay. And so, that's just one way we've gotten started with our oils. It's like a nice box, that is for all of our body systems. It's not,
It's not open.
yeah, it's not open, but
Can you open
I
it
can
for us?
open it,
It's
yeah,
okay.
I'm gonna, yeah, it's, I just got like some new ones, and we have some that we, are able to set someone up so that they don't have to wait in the mail for a kit. So, but, it's just everyday oils. It's like 12 oils in here that are amazing. And so, it's just one way to get started. It helps with the mental, the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual. Okay, all of that. So it's a little bit of everything in this kit. And, we got peppermint, lemon, thieves is our flagship product. It's based off of cinnamon, clove, rosemary, eucalyptus, and lemon. And there's a cute story that goes with this. 4 Frenchmen at the time of the 15th century, they robbed the dead. And before they went in, they anointed their robes with this oil. And they were asked, why aren't you getting sick? Why aren't you dying? And it was because of thieves, this blend, minus the eucalyptus, because they didn't have eucalyptus back then, right?
Gary added the eucalyptus.
Yeah, Gary added the eucalyptus. But there is a science to all this as well. Gary Young is the owner, founder of the company. He started it 25 years ago. And we're just really blessed with everything that he has created. I mean, from supplements to skincare to makeup, everything's infused with essential oils and toxin-free. No yuck, no chemical. Well, these are chemicals, but there's nothing bad, in there. No synthetics, no added fragrance. And so with our oils, they're 100% pure. They are amazing. There's no, there's no yuck in there. It's basically the top 5%, not 5%, it's 100% pure oil. But what I want to say on that is most oils, there's a difference. All the others out there, all the other companies, they put in about a 5% pure oil in a bottle that has a sticker, a label that says 100% pure. Okay, that's the FDA has said, okay, you're able to put 5% in a bottle if it's 100%. If it's 100% label, 5%. So that's just wrong. You're not going to get the same benefit, the same therapeutic quality and benefit from, an oil that has 5% pure oil. So that's and you can be the judge. You can test these oils, do a smell test. what else? Oh, seed to seal, that's the other big thing. Seed to seal, our promise to you. From when they're grown, you know, the little seedling that we put in the ground, to the soil, everything is organic. We handpick our weeds, we make sure it's in the right environment, temperature, climate. You know, we're all over the world. We have farms all over the world. So, what else can you add to that?
Yeah, well, seed to seal is definitely what sets Young Living apart. And you could just smell the difference. If you grab an oil that you've gotten, like you could see oils in like Target now, right? Like
Mhm.
Bed Bath & Beyond, everywhere. And so what Catherine was explaining was that most of those oils are considered perfume grade. So they're not meant to help our body with any kind of health or healing or anything like that. They're just out there for aroma. And unfortunately, people get confused. It's easy to get confused, and we were there once too. And now that's why we're so passionate about sharing these, because these are actually part of a wellness lifestyle. They've taken over, you know, taken the place in my life of a lot of different herbs and homeopathics and things that I used to use, still on the natural side of things, but I found that oils work faster and better. And so the Seed to Seal promise is pretty incredible, and you can just show up unannounced at any one of their farms, and you can watch this whole process. And so, like she was saying, from the seed that gets put in the ground that obviously has no pesticides or herbicides, and they're hand picking all the way through the process of that plant growing, being harvested. So they have it down to a science, and they have specific people working with the plants or with the soil or with the distillation process that specialize in that part of it. So, for example, there is someone going out in the field every hour to see when that plant is at the height of its bloom and when its essential oil content is the highest in the part of the plant where they're going to harvest. So someone's going out every hour during the time that they know, during the time of day, because sometimes certain plants kind of do their thing at night. And sometimes it's during a cold time of the year, so they harvest a lot of their things at their colder farms where the tree oils are grown. When it's freezing cold, all of the oils get pulled up through the trunk and out to the edges of the tree, and so they go cut it then when it's like below zero in Canada at their farm up there. They go, and that's when they do their harvesting, because for that plant, for that tree, that's when the essential oil content is the highest. So they're the only company that's doing anything like this, and that's because Gary Young was a super hands-in-the-dirt farmer, really into plants, really into obviously this chemical-free lifestyle. So they actually use essential oils to keep the pests away instead of herbicides and pesticides on the fields and on the plants. So every step of the way, they're just very conscious about how they're caring for the plants and harvesting them. Once they're harvested, they take them to the distillery, which is right on site. All these farms have distilleries on them. They're putting the essential oils or the plants in the distillery, and then to extract the oils, this process through steam distillation is pretty amazing, because for each plant there has to be a certain temperature and a certain pressure and a certain length of time to actually yield the therapeutic benefits of the oil. And if you don't do that, it's destroyed, and what you have left is perfume. So some people, to yield like a higher quantity of oil, will just cook it and cook it and cook it and cook it for like a long time. And sometimes people describe it as if, like, say you were to boil some water and you put a tea bag in there and you made a cup of tea. And then you took that tea bag and you made like 30 more cups of tea. The 30th cup of tea is gonna be like not that great, you know? So that's not exactly how it works, but it's a little bit to give you an idea of how you could stretch something. And then you could add chemicals, because you can make things in a lab that smell great. And most lavender, like when you get a shampoo or something just from the store, it's all synthetic. It's not real lavender like that was grown in the field, distilled with this process. So people will say, oh, lavender gives me a headache, you know? And it's like, well, that's because it's not even lavender. It's something chemically made in the lab that smells like lavender. So it's kind of this eye-opening thing once you have the experience of smelling these oils, feeling them on your body, starting to use them. Obviously, they're ingestible. The oils that come in the starter kit with the white label, you can ingest them because they're just pure, you know, there's nothing in them that would harm you. they're very concentrated and they're very strong, but anything with a white label, you can either put in a little capsule, or you could put it right under your tongue, or you could put a drop in your water. And so it's pretty fascinating. It's like this whole new world of supporting your body on a totally different level. And so obviously we have great support online for people who aren't able to come to classes if they're not local. We have all kinds of books and resources, and we're always kind of gathering people and just sharing what we've learned, because something, for me at least, something that's helped me or something that I'm passionate about, I love sharing that with other people. So yeah, that was a little more than just see the seal, but
no, it was really educational, right? You know, because there are some newer people that haven't even touched oils. I think, you know, they're just kind of getting their feet wet with oils, and then you're like, well, there's so many out there, you know, Target, Walmart, and you're like, well, what's the difference? This one's $8. Why is this one $78? You know, it's a huge difference. I mean, you can tell in just, you know, how you feel and how it's providing that benefit, the therapy. You know, it's 100% therapeutic. So, yeah.
So that's the starter kit.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of people get started with Young Living, because once you get a starter kit, then you're a member, and all that means is that if you ever want to order anything else, you get it at 24% off. So there's not like a commitment where then you have to like order all the time unless you want to. Hi, welcome. Hi. So we love the starter kit because they've put together all the most popular oils, and then there's some other things in that kit too. There's a little secret compartment underneath, and you get some samples of like an antioxidant drink that we love that has essential oils in it, and some of the Thieves products. So once you have your starter kit, we kind of help you get started. Catherine will help you get started with all of the different ways to use those oils that you have, and then when you're like, ooh, I want to learn something else, you know, we have like lots of something else's, because some people want to do emotions, that's why we're here tonight. Some people want to learn skincare, or, you know, specific systems of your body. Sometimes we'll just have a class on like the digestive system or the respiratory system. So we have lots of different ways that we talk about how to help empower you to take charge kind of your own health and wellness, and then share that with your family, because we all have people in our lives that we need to take care of, right? And in order to take care of other people, we got to take care of ourselves. So
I'm going to move this chair. It just seems like it's in the way.
oh, sure. Catherine, do you want to say anything else about the kit, or should we start with the emotional release portion of our class?
Oh, yeah, and then it also comes with a diffuser. Yeah, and you see them throughout the house. There's the Aloe diffuser, the Aria is the Mercedes of the whole line of diffusers.
The one in her kitchen
Yeah.
with the wood and the glass, and then there's that one right there.
Yeah. Oh, you can turn
The
that
desert-
one on.
desert
Yeah.
mist.
Can you turn that one on, Kelly?
There's a little button in the back.
Yeah.
This pen doesn't work.
Oh, okay.
Oh, here's one.
Thank you so much.
Tell me that one doesn't work. It works? Okay, good.
Yeah, so the diffuser, and then that's lemon and peppermint in there. I try not to do anything, you know, if you have all these diffusers going in your house, you want to do like a floral and, you know, all these weird scents, and then someone comes out thinking that, you know, they've got a headache and that the oils cause it, you know. But it's because, actually, yeah, that's another thing that you should know. You have to start out small with the oils. Like I'm telling everyone, 2 or 3 drops when you first start your diffuser, because you're not used to these pure, rich oils. You need more water. They're detoxifying you. You know, you just need to start out slow, gradual, and then build up. You can, you know, go up to 8 to 10 drops in a diffuser. So I think we'll just get right started with the class, because everyone's really excited about it. But we always have to share, you know, a little bit about the oil. So yeah.
Thank you.
But I want to introduce Kelowna. She's my mentor and my friend. She's been doing the oils for about 5 years now, and I've been doing them for 3. And I think we both can agree that they've changed our world. You know, they've changed our family, changed everything. Gosh, you know, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all those. And her passion, her favorite class to teach, I have to say, I know, is emotional release. anything to do with emotions and oils, and she'll share her story. Why?
Thank you. Yeah, so thanks for coming tonight, taking time out of your busy lives to learn about emotions. So I always love to start out this class, or almost any gathering, with actually going around the room and sharing your name and one word that describes how you feel right now. You want to start?
Oh.
So my name is, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
however you feel, one word.
My name is Catherine, and I feel excited.
We'll just go like that.
Yeah.
My name's Becky, and I feel curious.
My name is Kristen, and I also feel excited.
My name is Amy. I feel excited too.
My name is Desiree. I'm very happy.
My name is Kaylin and I feel grateful.
My name is Debbie and I'm relaxed.
We'll go back to them too, so you guys go.
I'm Michelle and I feel productive.
I'm Linda and I feel happy and excited to be here.
My name's Marie, and I'm curious too.
I'm Leslie and I feel optimistic.
I'm Anita and I'm feeling inspired.
I'm Patty and I feel interested.
I'm Charlene, and I'm very intrigued.
I'm Linda and having anxiety.
Give her peace and calm.
Yeah, we have
Yeah. Or Valor. Valor's another good one.
I'm Sharon. I'm kind of exciting and I'm waiting for this class. She didn't teach for a while, so I'm very excited too.
You've been before to this class,
Almost
right?
class.
You've been to this class before though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple times.
My name is Savannah. I'm curious for this class.
My name is Lupe and I am curious.
My name is Kelly and I'm grateful.
Thank you. I know it's a little bit weird to get put on the spot, but it's always nice to tap into how you're feeling, because we don't do that, right? We just go through the day and we do everything that we're supposed to do, and we don't often pause and pay attention to how we're feeling. And even if somebody asks you, how you doing? Fine, right? You're fine. You don't often tell people how you really feel. So it's kind of a good exercise to start out just by paying attention to how you feel. So thank you for doing that and sharing with everybody, because I know for some people, I'm at least the kind of person where like my heart starts beating and I'm sweating and I'm like, I don't hear what anyone's saying until it's my turn, and then I'm like, ah. So I know that that can be a little scary, but thank you. So like Catherine said, I love this subject, and that was not always the case for me. So my background is in holistic health. I'm a holistic health practitioner, and I spent 20 years seeing clients one-on-one for different types of hands-on healing, massage, craniosacral therapy, Reiki, structural integration, and toward kind of the later years that I was still in my practice, actually Desiree and I studied. We actually learned Reiki together. We did a Reiki master teacher training. We learned essential oils. We learned the raindrop technique, which was kind of my introduction to Young Living, which is what made me see the difference in the way the oils smelled and the way they made me feel. And they come in a collection, and it's a specific 9 different oils that are for cleansing and detoxifying. They're dripped along your spine and put along the spinal reflex points on your feet. And someone did a raindrop on me, and I was like, all my clients have to experience this. This is amazing. It was totally different than anything I had ever experienced before, and I knew that it was the oils that were making me feel that way. So I went through this training, and that's when I met Desiree. And then we also, within that training, we learned how to use crystals for healing, some chakra balancing, and we learned emotional release. And so in this program, I was continuing my education, going through this program, and there was all these different facets of the program. And every time the emotional release class came around, I was like, oh, that sounds awful. Like, sorry, I can't make it. It's like I just kept putting it off and putting it off. And even the teacher was like, what's the deal? Like, you can never come to the emotional release class. And I was like, ugh, those words words, just emotional release. Like, I don't even know what that means, but it sounds awful. It's like, and so a little bit of backstory on me, just because I feel like it helps me share how I came to think that this was actually a cool thing to talk about and experience. I was a competitive gymnast, and even before that, I was a very sensitive child, sensitive to sound, sensitive to being around a lot of people. I was just a very sensitive kid, and I was kind of always like, oh, you're so sensitive. It was like a terrible thing. Oh, you're so sensitive. Ugh. And I always had kind of like this knot in my stomach because I was just uncomfortable all the time, like at school, and my parents would drag me around to different parties or whatever. And I just remember feeling really uncomfortable. I found competitive gymnastics when I was about 8 years old, and for anybody who knows anything about gymnastics, it's pretty intense. And so it's like, it's an individual sport, but you learn to suck it up, and you don't cry. And when you get injured, we'll just tape it, you know? And so it was like, my parents were telling me I was too sensitive, and they would say things like, and I love my parents and have a great relationship with them, but I remember them saying things like, what are you gonna do when you're an adult? Cry about it? And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, you're not supposed to cry. Like, I cry all the time. And then I go to gymnastics, and they would say, suck it up. Like, if you cried, you got kicked out. So I was like, so I started kind of shutting down my sensitivities, which I think a lot of us do. I don't think that is so unique to me, and that's why I share. Because as a kid, we're kind of like open and vulnerable, and we think kids are so like flexible and easygoing, but they're actually very, very sensitive. But we put on these layers of kind of armor because it's too much to kind of take in. So I kind of closed down and became kind of militant, you know, my competitive gymnast. And I remember being so injured. I had such bad shin splints that they would do this special type of taping which would hold my leg in a position where I didn't feel the pain. But then as soon as the tape came off, it reminds me of one of those little dolls where you push up on the bottom and they like fall over. Like, I could not stand or walk without pain once my tape came off. So I would hobble out of the gym, and I would come home and lay ice packs, and I would go to sleep at night with ice packs all over my legs. My parents were like, what are you doing? But I was so like, I loved it, you know, it was my thing. So I became very hardened, and I learned the gymnastics thing. And then I started getting really bad injuries. I broke my arm really, really bad. I fractured my ankle several times, and I ended up in the hands of healers, acupuncturists, chiropractors, doctors, and physical therapists, and massage therapists. And so in the hands of those healers was where I realized I'm gonna do this for other people. Because when you're injured like that, and you can't do the one thing that you love, and all you wanna do is get better, it was like whatever they told me to do, I was doing. I was doing all the exercises and all the stretches, and whatever it was, I was doing it like diligently. And I just remember feeling, I want to do that for someone. I want to be the person that helps people get back to what they want to do. And so that's what I did. I went into physical therapy, I went into massage, and then I ended up not loving the physical therapy environment because I was working for a corporation where you had to see a lot of different people in a day, and I didn't feel like I could spend enough time with people. And so I just decided to go back to school for more holistic health training so that I could just see people one-on-one and spend as much time as I wanted. Because when someone's injured, I'd have somebody's head in my hands, and they would have had whiplash or something, and I'm yelling over my shoulder at somebody doing their exercises over there, and then somebody's walking in the door, and then the, big corporation people would come to us and say, you're not seeing enough people in the clinic. And I was like, these poor people, I can't do this. So I went out on my own. My husband, we weren't even married yet, but he was like, I'll support you, just go for it. Let's see how it works. So that's what I started doing. I loved it, but I was very focused on physical health, right? Like, you have an injury and you work on that injury. Well, as I went through more and more training and learned more gentle styles of healing, I learned craniosacral therapy, which works with fluid that surrounds your spine and your brain, and it's this very gentle technique where you're feeling these really subtle shifts in people's bodies. And then I learned Reiki, where you don't even have to touch the body, and you can actually do healing from a distance. And I started learning about energy and having this whole different view of the way our body heals, and realizing that it wasn't all just about what you can feel and touch. And so I finally got into this emotional release, and I was like, oh, because when I was in massage school, I remember one of my teachers saying, oh, you might have when you're putting your hands on people, and I was like 19 when I went to massage school. When you're putting your hands on people, when they're on the table, they might experience an emotional release. And I remember being like, oh, what's that, you know? And so they were explaining that, you know, they might relive something or just kind of release, because having like gentle hands on your body helps you to relax. When you fully relax, sometimes stuff comes up. And so I was like, ooh, and then sure enough, as I started doing massage and different types of hands-on healing, I learned, not until later, but I learned that I learned what it was later. I learned that I was an empath and I could feel things in other people's bodies, but I didn't know at the time what was happening. But I would put my hands on people and I could feel or sense that they had been through something. I didn't always know exactly what it was, but I would feel like a shaking feeling or a sickening feeling or something, and I would just go, oh, like, ugh, and I wouldn't want to say anything because I didn't know what to say. And sometimes they were unaware, other times they were kind of like crying, and I was like, it'll be okay. Like, you know, I was kind of like, oh, this is the emotional release. Or I would feel it, and I would just pray silently, like, don't have the release here. Like, go home and have the release. Like, it's so awful. But I would just, like, I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know what that was about. So I spent all these years doing body work and kind of focusing on the physical. I get in this emotional release class, and I was like, oh, man. And what was interesting and what made me see how important it was, I started doing some research and some studying and reading these different books, and I learned, I'm going to show you one of these books. I learned in this book called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die, which is not an essential oils book, but it's a book that explains that when you stuff your feelings or your emotions, you don't allow yourself to feel them, they actually get lodged or stuck in your body and end up turning into cancer or other types of terminal things. They can. And I was like, oh my gosh, how many things from when we're tiny that we don't even remember do we stuff away because someone told us we couldn't cry or whatever. And so I started reading this, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is life-changing. And, you know, we learned this technique, which we're going to do tonight out of this book, Releasing Emotional Patterns with Essential Oils. There's a really simple technique in here that we're going to do together that helps you let go of the pattern that created the feeling or the emotion. And I started practicing it on myself and practicing it with my clients, and the most amazing things started happening. And they would come in with like, oh, you know, it's my back or it's my knee, or, you know, and so instead of like going to the knee, I was like, oh, you know, and starting to have the conversation that sometimes when we have a physical thing, it can be related to just opening that door and doing this technique. And people were like, you didn't even touch my knee and it feels better. And you didn't even touch my back and, you know, it feels better. And then I was having it happen in my own body, like certain areas, like, do you guys feel like you know what your vulnerable areas of your body are? Like, I usually get a sore throat if I'm like coming down with something or worn down. Some people get, like I was saying when I was younger, I would get like the stomach aches, or you kind of know what your thing is, like you have like a thing, right? Or an injury that always comes back, or whatever it is. Well, wouldn't it be interesting if you could explore that, and next time you felt it, instead of just thinking, oh, my throat hurts, great, I'm getting like the flu or a cold or whatever, and thinking, I wonder if there is some type of feeling or emotion that is contributing to me having this, and it made you susceptible to whatever it was. So I started doing that, playing around with it, and like my sore throat would go away, and I was like, no way, like this is, I don't know, I couldn't believe it, but I was seeing it and feeling it over and over. So now I can't stop talking about it because I'm like, I want to see what happens when you go try it, you know, I want to see what happens when you go try it. So now, you know, we just go through these events and we talk about it, and I love now, instead of seeing people one-on-one, I love being able to gather people like this and be like, go try it. Like, here's the technique, here's the oils, like get your own oils, go home and try it, and you can do it on yourself once you've done it and kind of been guided through it. And then, like, it's just life-changing because something that you've maybe dealt with your whole life, now you have an opportunity to look at it in a different way. So that's kind of a little bit about my story and my kind of passion for why I even talk about it. But I wanted to also share a couple other things before we get into the technique, because for one thing, if you're here and you're wanting to learn about emotional release, the scary thing that I didn't even want to learn about, you must be, on some sort of path to better health and wellness, and like you're interested in doing something that can help you feel better, right? There's plenty of people who are not interested in doing anything to make them feel better, and that's okay. And there's plenty of times in our life when we're like, nothing can help me, no one can help me, right? You might have people in your life who it's easier to just check out and go to the bar or watch TV or get on Facebook, or it's easier to not feel that stuff. This is the harder path, but it's also the more rewarding path, right? Because wouldn't you rather go through something a little bit hard or a little bit uncomfortable and then feel super good on the other side of it? Like, it's worth it, I think. So, and it's not always uncomfortable. I mean, it doesn't mean everyone in the room is going to be crying. Sometimes an emotional release is laughing. Sometimes you don't even necessarily feel anything specific in the moment, but you notice a shift in your life. So it's so unique, and that's why I can't get enough of teaching other people about it, because the stories that people have are all super unique, and everything is different for everyone. So thank you for being here and taking that step to just learning about it, because it's fun for me. So we're going to do something fun. Do you have something to say?
Oh, I was going to.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, you could tell I was wanting to interject. But, breaking that emotional pattern, we keep having something come up, and it's the same thing, right? How you're feeling. And you react the same way. Mm-hmm. You have it, oh, I'm mad about this. And, this sparked it, this trigger sparks it, and you get mad. And then you react the same way over and over and over again. We're going to share the technique so that you can break that and start, stopping that, recognizing it, stopping it, and moving forward.
So your life can be a lot more fulfilling.
Yeah,
in that way when you
use it to, to move you in a positive direction instead of a negative. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. So you guys all have a little handout. I'm going to have you actually just flip it over to the blank side, and we're going to do a fun little exercise. So flip your paper over, grab your pen, and write down, you're just going to write down or make a list of 3 qualities that you love and admire about someone else or other people. It doesn't have to be about the same person. 3 qualities that you love and admire about other people or about someone else. I have a pen in my purse, Catherine.
Oh, I got one.
Oh, you got one? Okay. It's like looking all around the house.
We know.
Yeah. Oh, do you need another pen?
Is there any more? Does anyone else need a pen?
Okay. Okay. Oh, got it. And then take your time. Once you have written down 3 qualities that you love and admire about someone or other people, just look up so that I can see like how many people are done. And if you can't come up with 3, you can only come up with 2. It's fine. Don't worry about it. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to write down 3 things that annoy. Oh,
What was the first question?
oh, you're going to write down 3 things that you love and admire about other people or someone else.
Okay.
And then the next part is you're going to write down 3 things that annoy you or that you can't stand about someone else or other people. Once you have your 3 things that you love and admire, and the 3 things that annoy you or that you can't stand about someone else, just draw like a big circle around all of them, all 6 things, or however many things you came up with. And then you're gonna write down right next to that all of these.
Just write that down, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, write that.
All of these.
All of these.
Are part of me. And how does that make you feel?
We circle.
Just all of it.
All
All the
of
things
them.
you love,
Okay.
all the things that are annoying, and the idea is that all of that, all the things you love about other people, and all the things that really annoy you are all part of you. So the first time I was like mad. I'm all, no way, that stuff is not, but it's the work, it's called shadow work, or looking at the dark side or that opposite side, and usually that stuff that annoys you or triggers you or bothers you about other people, it's like a mirror, and it's showing us unhealed or unloved parts of ourselves. And it's something that you can spend some time working with. And this is another, it's not an oil book, but Debbie Ford wrote this book all about that. It's called Shadow Work. She calls it Shadow Work, and it's called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. And she kind of made that her life's work to show you how you can live with more freedom and more authenticity once you kind of confront that shadow side and look at what that's trying to tell you. And tonight, as we go through the technique and as you learn this, it's something that can help you start to get in touch with that, because anytime that someone does something that triggers you, it's not necessarily them. They're triggering something that is inside of us, and sometimes we don't even know what it's from. It could be something from when you were a little kid that you don't even remember, it's not even connected in your mind. But when someone cuts you off on the road, that could make one person super angry, and another person could be like, oh, they must be having a hard day, like no big deal, right? So it's interesting what triggers us and certain people in our lives. I feel like the people that are closest to us, our spouses, our children, our neighbors, even coworkers, people that you're around all the time, those are the people that are in our lives to help us learn more about ourselves. So if you can start to have that awareness that when something's really bothering you, you're like, okay, what can I do to work on myself? And you can identify what that feeling is, and then you can use this technique to start to release the pattern that created that feeling, and then that thing is going to happen and you're no longer going to be bothered by it. So it's super helpful. And it's not like anyone's ever going to be like, oh, I've done all the emotions and I'm just free, I'm healed. It's like peeling layers of an onion. So you'll only let go or release so much at a time, but there's always something else to work on. And I just feel like we're getting closer to our kind of shiny center, as we continue to shed things that are no longer serving us. I like to think of it as just letting go of something that's no longer serving you, and you feel lighter and you feel better because you're just letting go of stuff that you don't need to hold on to anymore. So we'll go into a little more, let me see actually. Let me skip that. See if there's anything else. Oh, one interesting thing is, well, there are actually studies that show that certain organs store certain emotions. So we know that anger is stored in the liver, and there's worry in the kidneys, and there's, you can find that, and as you experience a certain emotion, your body will actually produce chemicals or hormones, and if you're having that same trigger or that feeling, it will flood that certain part of your body. And what I read about in this Feelings Buried Alive, Never Die book is they did a study where they studied the chemical composition of our tears. And when we cry, depending on what we're crying about or what we're feeling, they found different chemicals in the tears related to the feeling that you were having. So crying is actually like a detoxing and a way to help you get out what you don't want to necessarily be stored in those places and fester and turn into something that we don't want. And so when I read that, I was like, gave me permission to cry, because I had shut down crying for so many years from gymnastics and being the sensitive kid and thinking that was a negative thing. I would start to feel like I was going to cry, and then I could like make it stop, Do you know that feeling of when you're starting to cry and then you're like, So I was like, okay, it's okay to cry. You know, that actually helps your body get it out. And I just thought that was really fascinating. So instead of being like bogged down by our emotions or stuck in emotional ruts, this is going to give you an opportunity to be able to simply let go of that pattern that created it. And this isn't something new. Actually, the ancient Egyptians were using essential oils to work on their emotions. And so we're kind of going back to something that was done a very long time ago. Gary Young, the founder of Young Living, went to Egypt and he saw all the hieroglyphics on the walls, and he got special permission to go into a room where he got to see this whole story, basically, you know, in pictures on the wall about how the ancient Egyptians would do this. They called it cleansing of the flesh and blood, and they would take baths, essential oil baths, and it was this process of emotional release. And they said that if you regularly did that, you went into your next life without all of that emotional baggage, and you would be healthier and happier. And so he kind of, you know, learned that from the wall, and, you know, combined that with his study of what was happening at a cellular level, not only with emotions, but when we use essential oils. So when you get your kit and you start using these oils, you might have it diffusing in your home, and then you're dispersing these microfine particles of the oil into the air, and it stays suspended for several hours, so you're getting all the benefits of the oil, and all different oils have different qualities and benefits. But you could also put them on your skin. You know, you can topically put them on your skin, or you could breathe them out of your hands, or you can ingest them. But specifically, when you breathe the oils, there is this special part of our brain, and it is called the seat of our emotions, the amygdala. And it's very interesting when you access that part of the brain, the seat of the emotions. It has a physiological effect, and it's also closely related to the part of the brain that controls our heart rate and our temperature and our hormones. And so just by smelling an oil, you're activating this emotional center in your brain that can only be accessed through the sense of smell. And that's why sometimes if you smell baking bread or something that reminds you of your grandma or your mom or something from when you were a child, because you have that memory, and you won't always be reminded of something specific, but you're activating that center in your brain. And you can specifically, with this technique, as you're breathing the oil and working on a certain emotion and thinking about certain things, you can have a huge effect on, you know, your physiology and things that have happened to you, even if it's not super clear as to what it is. Sometimes we don't really know because our subconscious blocks out traumatic things or hurtful things that have happened to us, because if we were aware of it all the time, we wouldn't even walk out of our house, you know. So a lot of times, sometimes with using essential oils, as people start to use them, we have seen people, without learning anything about emotions or anything, they'll put an oil in their diffuser and they will say, oh my gosh, I have just started crying, I don't know what's going on, I have this, you know. And sometimes there's an emotional response, and it's not like a bad thing. Sometimes people will put on an oil and say, oh my gosh, I can move my neck, you know. So there's emotional, like Catherine said at the beginning, sometimes it's a physical response, and sometimes it's an emotional or mental thing, and other times it's like a spiritual connection. It like opens you up to being more aware. And so, you know, again, I can't say, we never say what's going to happen, but we feel great, you know, from doing these things, and that's why we're sharing it with you. But I love how the oils work with the brain, and there's a lot of chemistry and science. So if you're someone who likes that information, because I need to feel it in my own body, and then I need to like know why. Like, why is lavender helping you go to sleep at night? Because I feel like people, me included, are skeptical when someone's like, oh, I put lavender in my diffuser and I slept better than I've ever slept. You're like, yeah, right. Like, that's weird, and I don't even know why that would happen. But then you look at the science and you're like, oh, lavender oil, they've done studies and it shows that it slows the beta waves in your brain, which helps you to relax and be able to fall asleep. And it's like, what? So obviously different people respond differently to different oils. So just because lavender helps Catherine go to sleep, it might be peace and calming that helps me go to sleep. You know, there's so many different options, and that's why it's nice to start with the starter kit, because you have 12 choices, and you have things that work with the digestive system, things that are calming and for stress, things that are for, you know, helping you feel more alert, things that are for cleansing and detoxing, things that support your immune system. It's like all in there. And if you just bought one oil, it's not going to hurt you, but it might not be the one that's going to help you with whatever you're working on. So it's nice to have this little palette and be able to try different things. And then at certain times, we feel more drawn to other things. So, all right, we're going to do the technique now. The book is something that you might want to get if you like what we do tonight. You can get the book. Put that book down. So many books. You can get the book, or using the oils doesn't require you to use this technique or use this book. And we'll talk more about that later. So we're going to do a specific technique. We're going to take you through it. But there's also, it's very simple to use oils. And so before we actually go through the technique, we're just going to set our stuff down for a minute. And I'm going to pass around an oil called Valor. And Valor is actually...
I just did Valor.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
oh, everybody got Valor?
Everybody got Valor.
Oh, good.
I have
Well,
not
then
tried
everybody
it.
already got Valor.
Okay.
Okay. So, I'm not sure when that happened, but no, actually I saw you giving her Valor.
Yeah,
so,
but then I
perfect.
realized,
everyone
I bet
needs a little
everybody
Valor.
wants to try, yeah.
why not?
And it's
So-
a good oil to start with.
It is.
Yeah.
It's great. It's my favorite oil, so it's a blend. And so there are single oils like peppermint or lemon, and then there are oils that have been blended. And Gary Young was a master at blending oils based on their frequency and their vibration. When you use essential oils, they're the highest frequency substance on the planet. When you use essential oils, they raise your vibration, and it can be measured in megahertz. So a healthy body is around like 62 megahertz. If you look at like canned food, it's a 0. There's no frequency in the canned food. If you look at like fresh food and fresh herbs, it's in the 30s or something like that. And essential oils are much higher than that, and they range. And the oils that are lower in frequency help support the physical body and help us feel more grounded. The middle range oils help us with our emotions. And then the high frequency oils, like rose oil, super high frequency, that helps us to have more of a spiritual connection. So I like Valor because I need to feel grounded, because it's easy for me to get kind of scattered and multitasking and doing all these different things. I'm a mom and I'm doing classes and I'm over here. So I need to bring myself back down to earth, and Valor helps me to feel calm. Its nickname is chiropractor in a bottle. People use it for all different sorts of things. But everyone's already got their Valor, but I'm just going to show you.
Did you get it?
No.
Yeah, let's do a little demo.
I'll
When
ring
you
Yeah, no worries.
are using an essential oil, you allow a drop to fall in your hand, and then you take your peace fingers and you swirl it clockwise 3 times, and that activates the oil to your energy. And then once you've done that, you can rub your hands together and cup your hands over your nose and mouth, and whatever oil you have left in your hands, you can do this. Because you still have some Valor on your hands there. And now we're gonna just kind of be quiet. We're gonna do a little body scan and some breathing, a little meditation real quick before we start the techniques. You can just set your stuff on the floor. Take a couple deep breaths from your hands, whatever Valor you have left on there. Just taking that oil into all of your cells and just focusing on your breath. Once you've taken some nice deep breaths, you can lower your hands and keep your eyes closed. You can rest your hands in your lap, either face up or face down. And just start to pay attention to the way that you're breathing. Noticing if your breath feels shallow or if it feels deep. Just taking note, not judging anything. And just noticing how your heart is beating in your chest. Bringing awareness to your heart center. Allowing your spine to be nice and straight. Maybe even tucking your chin slightly and elongating your spine, because that helps the energy flow more freely. And then feel your feet on the ground. Feel your sit bones in your chair. And then we're going to just do a little body scan, starting with the top of our head. just bringing awareness to the top of your head, to your scalp, your forehead, and just notice how it feels. Just taking note as we do this body scan, if anywhere in your body feels uncomfortable, and trying not to judge it, but just taking a mental note, like, okay, I feel you. And then we're just gonna keep moving down all the way to the feet. So now paying attention to how your face feels, and your ears, and your jaw. Just noticing if you're holding any tension anywhere. And if you do notice somewhere that's uncomfortable or holding some tension, maybe just inviting it to relax or bring your breath into that area. And bringing your awareness into your neck and your throat. And paying attention to your chest and your upper back. Just noticing how it feels. Bringing your awareness down to your shoulders, your arms and hands. And paying attention to your abdomen, stomach, your middle back, your mid-back. Paying attention to your torso, your midsection in the front and the back and the sides. Maybe just bringing your awareness or your breath into that area, allowing your belly to fill up when you breathe. And then feeling into your low back and your hips. Paying attention to your thighs and your knees, and just seeing what you notice in that area of your body. Feeling your calves, your shins, your ankles and your feet, and all the way down to your toes. And now we're just going to take 3 deep breaths and circulate the energy as if it's coming up the back of your body, like up your spine, and then over the top of your head. And as you breathe out, imagine the energy flowing down the front of your body. So inhaling, imagine energy flowing up the back of your body, up the back of your spine, and then over the top of your head. And as you exhale, either out your mouth or your nose, imagine that energy just flowing down the front of your body. Circulating the energy up the back of your body. And exhaling over the top of your head, down the front of your body. And let's do it one more time at your own pace. And just feeling your feet on the floor. Feeling your sit bones in your chair, on your seat. And just remembering those areas of your body that kind of spoke to you during the body scan. And bring your hands into just a prayer position over your heart, over the center of your chest, and set an intention for this class. Something that you'd like to manifest. It's kind of like making a wish. Something that you'd like to improve in your life. Anything at all, just make a wish. And once you've set your intention, you can just let your hands fall back into your lap, and you can open your eyes and come back into the room. So did anybody notice a place in their body that felt tense or uncomfortable? Yeah. Isn't that interesting? And was it something you were aware of before we started?
I had 2. One of them I was, one of them I wasn't.
Yeah.
And then it went away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dissipated. Not amazing.
And and it might not go away. I mean, you might be like, oh yeah, I still feel it, like I have something, you know, you might still feel it, but it's brought you to pay attention to something that you weren't even aware of. So other than just like we did when we came in, we tapped into the way we felt. That is definitely one way to start paying attention to yourself. But even like you could wake up in the morning or before you go to bed at night, do a little body scan and let your body talk to you, like where do I need support, you know, and your body's gonna tell you, and then maybe you could grab your essential oil and kind of invite that area of your body to relax or do this technique. So we actually picked 2 emotions that we're gonna, actually I'll keep these with me, that we're gonna do all together. We're all gonna do the same one. And the handout is kind of a guide as to how to use the book, because when I first got this book, I thought it was a little bit confusing. And so it takes a little bit to learn how to use it. And so you don't have to worry about learning to use it tonight, because I'm just gonna guide you through it. But the page numbers will help you, although one thing I will say is there's several different editions of the book. So these page numbers are for my book, and so you might get another edition, and the sections, the highlighted areas, will be the same, but the page numbers might be off. So
Do you have the books here? that we can
Yes.
yeah, she has some books. Yeah, so if you want to go home with a book, you can. And again, to use oils, it's not like you have to use this technique. This is just one thing that we like, that we talk about, and one way to work on emotions. So it's interesting because the way this book is set up, you could figure out what emotion you wanted to work on in several different ways. You could do that body scan, and you could be like, oh yeah, it was right here. And there's a chart in the back, and you could look on the chart and find the area of your body where you felt discomfort, and then look up on the body reference chart what oil or what emotion is that connected with, and you could go from there. Or you could be like, oh, I'm feeling really angry, and you know that you need to work on anger, you know, so you could go to the section that talks about the emotional reference, and you can look down the line and you're like, oh, okay, abuse, addiction, adrenal exhaustion, like sign me up for all of it. You know, like you start making little dots or notes next to the ones you want to work on, and there might be like a lot of things you want to work on. And it's not like there's no wrong emotion to work on. You know what I mean? Whatever you feel drawn to work on, you can work on. You just need the oil for that. And so if you don't have the oil that it's telling you, you can, if you have at least the starter kit, you could find something similar. You can look up in the back of the book what oils are in that blend, and maybe that blend has peppermint in it. So you get out your peppermint oil from your starter kit, and you just intend for that to have the same effect. To tide you over until you can get the oil that you need, or you call on Catherine to give you a little sample so that you could try it out or something. But that's one thing that you can do if you don't have the oil, is find something similar and use it. So Dr. Carolyn Mine is who wrote the book. She has a local practice in Rancho Santa Fe, and she based this off of, well, she has a background in acupuncture and chiropractic, and she's been using this technique, I don't know how long, but she created it and then has been using it on her clients and on herself with much success. So it's something that has been around for a little while, and she's really done a great job of making it very simple. And so we'll just walk you through it. And basically what we're gonna do is we're going to kind of identify what the emotion is. We're gonna smell an oil. We're gonna feel the other side of the emotion. Then we're going to apply it to the place that the chart tells us to for that emotion. And then we're all gonna always put it on the emotional points, which are these little bumps on your forehead, the top of the head, which is our crown chakra, and then the 2 little bumps on either side of the back of your head, and then right in the middle, and I'll walk you through the whole thing. And then we're going to say a statement or like an affirmation out loud that helps get us out of that emotional pattern that created that. And it's pretty cool, and it's pretty simple, and it's fun to do. So we're going to start with, let's see, which one should we start with? All right, we're going to start with fatigue. Anyone ever felt fatigued? Figure that's one that we all could use. So we figured that was something that everybody could use. So I have the oil for that, but I'm going to walk you through the technique, and I'll just show you the page in the book, and I have it kind of marked. And once you get your book, you could kind of mark the pages if you want, but there's just a page in the book that walks you through the technique. And then there's information on either side about the oils or about the place in your body, you know, with the charts and stuff like that. So we're gonna use that, but I'm gonna keep this page open to the fatigue section because it's gonna tell me specifically for fatigue, what we're gonna say, what we're gonna do, where we're gonna put it. I'm gonna look up the point really quick on the chart. So I'm gonna look at chart F.
Some people have the book out, so are you mentioning the page? Maybe the page.
Oh, do you have the books?
I mean, some people have the
Oh, yeah.
books, yeah.
So I'm looking at page 41 because that's where fatigue is, to see all the different things we're doing for fatigue, but the page with the technique for me in my book is on page 56 and 57. So I'm looking at the fatigue, it's called Life Force, is the alarm point or access point, and Life Force is on chart F. So I'm looking at chart F, and I need to find, okay, so the Life Force point is right in the center of your lower back, so right above like where your hip bones are. It's just right behind that, right in the center of your back. Lower back, that's the Life Force point. So that's actually the spot that we're going to touch. And you don't have to necessarily like slather oil on that spot. It's more about touching that area once we get to that part. So I'll guide you to that spot, but just so you know that's where we're gonna be touching. So everybody close your eyes again. You can set your stuff down if you want. Just close your eyes and allow yourself to feel the emotion fatigue. I'm just allowing yourself to feel fatigue, whatever that means for you right now, feeling it in every cell, on every level. And start to think of the most recent time that you felt fatigued, maybe over the last day, maybe sometime today you felt fatigued. And then you can start to remember back maybe in the last week or the last month when you felt the emotion fatigue. And allowing yourself to feel fatigue even throughout other times in your life. So taking a little journey back through time with your inner child, remembering different jobs, different relationships, different people, maybe different places you lived, where you felt fatigue. Remembering back as far as college or high school. And seeing if you can access fatigue when you were even younger, middle school or elementary, or even as a toddler, if you remember, if you can access feeling fatigue as a toddler or a baby. Allowing yourself to feel fatigue in every cell, on every level, and throughout as many times in your life as you can access right now. And maybe even being able to go as far back as when you were in the womb and you were absorbing someone else's fatigue. And once you feel complete with the process of being able to access feeling fatigue, I'm going to pass around inspiration, which is the oil. And we're going to do that same process where you allow a drop to fall into your hand, pass it on. You'll take your peace fingers, swirl it clockwise, and then you'll just close your eyes and start to take some deep breaths. And it'll take a minute for the inspiration to get around the room, but everybody will probably start to smell it. Once everybody gets a drop, it's kind of in the air, so just wait patiently for your drop. So once you get your oil and you've swirled it, taking some nice deep breaths, closing your eyes, and just taking it in to all of your cells.
You guys got it. Here, I'll give you a drop.
I'll straddle over you and walk around. I'll let you guys pass it since you're so tight in there. Pass it down and pass it back. Taking some nice deep breaths, breathing that inspiration oil into all of your cells and into that fatigue that you were just feeling or experiencing. And inviting yourself just to start to transform that fatigue, maybe just letting go of it. And then, next step is we're going to feel the other side, so we're going to work with the opposite side of fatigue. And the opposite side of fatigue is ignited. So you can close your eyes again, and you can allow your hands just to rest in your lap if you're done taking your breaths of the oil. And you're just going to allow yourself to feel ignited, whatever that means for you. Remembering, again, kind of taking that little journey back through time and remembering and accessing different times in your life where you felt ignited. Maybe starting with the most recent, like maybe today, thinking of something that made you feel ignited. And then remembering different times over the last week or the last month or maybe the last year where you felt ignited. Allowing yourself to feel ignited in every cell and on every level throughout as many times in your life as you can access right now. Allowing yourself to feel ignited throughout all different times in your life, different ages, when you were with different people, remembering back maybe to when you were a teenager or a smaller child, when you felt ignited. And maybe being able to access feeling ignited all the way back to when you were a baby, or when you were in the womb and you felt somebody else's ignited. Bless you. And once you feel like you have been able to access that feeling of ignited in every cell, on every level, and throughout as many times in your life as you can access right now, you can open your eyes, and we're going to apply the oil to what Carolyn Mine calls the alarm points. I like to call it access because alarm sounds kind of scary. So that's that spot on your lower back. So just touching your lower back, if you can access it with your bare hand, and if not, it's fine. It's more about touching the area than getting the oil there. So we're just touching that spot right on our lower back, right in the middle of our spine. And then we're going to touch the emotional points, which are right, those little bumps right here on your forehead. You can just touch those points with both hands or with one hand this way, whatever feels better. And then on the top of the head, just place your hand on the top of your head, and this is our connection with the crown chakra, or she calls it the anterior fontanelle, where the soft spot is on a baby, where it closes up the last. So that's our crown chakra, or our kind of spiritual connection. And then the other places are the little bumps right at the back of your head. I'll turn around so you can see what I'm talking about. But right here, you've got little bumps right there. Those are called filter points. So you're just touching that area with your palms. And then right in the middle, this is called the release point. And you can just touch with your fingertips, or maybe you want to do the whole thing like this, whatever feels comfortable. But the filter points help us to not only let go of the pattern that created that fatigue, but also it helps us to be protected from anyone else's emotions. And I love that. So, all right, next we are going to say the way out, she calls it. It's like a mantra, and it is, I am aligned. And so what we're gonna do is we are all gonna say together out loud 5 times, I am aligned. So on the count of 3. I am aligned. 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 That was 5, but keep saying it quietly, silently to yourself for as long as you feel like you need to say it. And you could even close your eyes and breathe whatever oil you have left on your hands. And just keep repeating, I am aligned, until you feel complete with the process, or until you feel the energy start to shift, whatever that means for you. Feel complete with the process, you can open your eyes and lower your hands. Did anyone have trouble accessing either side of the emotion, either the positive or the negative side? Did anyone notice that it was easy to access one and not as easy to access the other? Yeah, sometimes that happens. Did anyone else have anything happen that was noteworthy or that you feel like sharing?
Well, when we did it at night, to me that's like when I get, I got so hot, like clammy, like my neck and my face, and I was like, I know that feeling too, because when I get like that, my face gets like that. So when I was thinking about it, I just got really hot.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's just interesting. So everybody has totally different things happen, obviously. It's just fun to feel the shift in your own body, and when you're in this environment where everybody has kind of done it together, sometimes it feels like a safe spot to share. Sometimes if you go home and you're like, and then I felt ignited, and then I was like, people are all, what are you talking about? But so keep in touch with people from class, because whoever invited you or whatever, stay in touch over the next couple days. We're gonna do one more as well, but sometimes you feel a shift, or you have something happen with your dreams over the next couple days, or you feel something a couple days or a week from now, but it was connected to whatever happened here. And unless you have a little buddy to talk about it with, sometimes you don't really make the connection. So it's fun to kind of stay in that.
I felt a little lightheaded.
A little lightheaded? Yeah. So it's just, and who knows, our bodies are doing whatever they need to do to let go of whatever they need to let go of. And so just being aware and being gentle with yourself, and mostly just paying attention to how you're feeling and what's going on in your body is kind of not always the easiest thing to do, you know, because sometimes we feel uncomfortable and we just want to make it go away. But if we actually bring our awareness into that area and, you know, do something specific like this, it will eventually go away, and it'll go away for good, you know. So this is the kind of thing where you could practice this every day until you weren't experiencing fatigue anymore. Carolyn minds us to keep practicing it, keep the oil with you, diffuse it, put it in your hands and just breathe it while you're out, and just have it be something that's part of your life. And then you could go through those steps, you know, in the morning or at night, you know, keep this out by your bed and go through those steps, or just use the oil and have it around you and have it on you. So who's ready to do one more? Okay, good. All right, so the next one that we are going to do is grief. So grief, we are going to use the oil joy, and the other side of grief is happy. The way out, or the saying that we're going to say together, is change brings growth. And the point is, I'm going to look up the point on the chart. The point is adenoids on chart A. Oh yeah, this is kind of funny. So it's either side of the nose. So you know how you have that kind of hard part, the bones up here on your nose? So it's going to be right there. So you can touch like this, or you can touch like this, however you want. But that's the spot we're going to touch when we get to that point. Okay, so we can just close our eyes again, set everything down. And just go back into that comfy zone where you feel your feet on the floor, feel your bottom in your chair or on your seat, and allow yourself to feel grief. Allowing yourself to feel the full extent of grief, you know, in every cell, on every level, and allowing yourself to access grief throughout different times in your life. So if you have something recently where you can access the emotion grief, just allowing yourself to be able to see that or feel that. And as you feel it, just noticing it. Noticing this is grief. And then allowing yourself to take that journey back through time and remembering different times in your life where you also felt grief. Maybe as a young adult, as a child, feeling grief in every cell, on every level. This is grief. Accessing grief as a smaller child or even as a toddler, maybe even as a baby. Or being in the womb and absorbing somebody else's grief. Once you feel complete with the process, like you've been able to access grief throughout as many times in your life as you can remember right now, you can come back into the room and we are going to pass around joy. Getting your drop of joy, swirling 3 times clockwise with your peace fingers to activate the oil to your energy, rubbing your hands together, close your eyes, cup your hands, and just start to take some deep breaths. I'll pass it to you guys, I'll let you pass it around. Taking some nice deep breaths of that joy oil, taking it into all of your cells, and breathing it into that grief, allowing it just to release or let go. So taking some nice deep breaths of your joy oil if you just got your drop. And then we are going to move right into feeling the other side of grief, which is happy. So you can close your eyes again. Allow yourself to feel happy. Feeling happy in every cell and on every level throughout as many times in your life as you can access right now. Thinking of specific times, maybe today or recently, that you felt happy. Thinking of different events and different situations throughout your life where you felt happy. This is happy. Allowing yourself to feel it. yourself to feel happy when you were a child. Maybe when you were a toddler or a baby. Maybe even when you were in the womb, absorbing someone else's happiness. Once you feel complete with the process of being able to access the emotion happy in every cell, in every level, and throughout as many times or situations in your life as you can access right now, you can come back into the room. And we will touch the alarm or the access point, which is just right on either side of the top of your nose. And then the emotional points on our forehead, those little bumps. And then touching the top of the head. And the filter points, those little bumps on either side. And then the release point right in the middle. And then the saying that we're going to say together 3 times, 5 times, is change brings growth. So on the count of 3, we will all say change brings growth 5 times. So 1, 2, 3.
Change brings growth. Change brings growth. Change brings growth. Change brings growth. Change brings growth.
And then just going inside and continuing to say that as many times as you want to. Maybe going back to cupping your hands over your nose and taking some deep breaths as you continue to say it silently to yourself. Continue repeating it silently to yourself until you feel a shift or until you just feel complete. Just coming back into the room. Does anybody have anything they want to share? How did that go?
Thought positive.
Yeah.
I think that one was really effective for me just because I had kind of like tension in my stomach when we were first starting.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of just subsided just now after this last oil. So I think that's kind of significant. That's just what I felt. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing. That's cool. Well, yeah. So like I was saying, there you could feel a change right here, or you could start to feel changes throughout the rest of your week. So pay attention to that for sure. And one thing that I did want to mention is certain oils like lemon or any of the citrus oils are photosensitive. So if you were doing a technique where you were using lemon oil on your face, or even in Joy, there are some citrus oils. If you were to have tons of oil on your hand and you rubbed it on your face or something and you went right out in direct sunlight, you could be more photosensitive, you could get burned. Some people's skin is more sensitive to that than others, but it's just something, it's like one of the only precautions with essential oils is that the citrus oils can increase photosensitivity. So it's just, I thought I would mention that. The other thing is if you were ever to get an essential oil in your eye, you'd think that you would flush it with water, but water and oil repel, so water would actually drive the oil in deeper. So what you would do is you would use something called a carrier oil, which is a fatty oil or vegetable oil like olive or coconut or whatever you have on hand that's a natural oil, you'd actually put oil in your eye or on an area of your skin that was sensitive. Sometimes an oil can make your skin feel itchy or hot, or if your skin is sensitive. So that just, what that does is it slows down the absorption of the essential oil, because the molecules are teeny tiny and they absorb really fast into our bodies, and so that carrier oil just slows down the absorption. So if that ever happened.
Or milk. Right, they could
Or
use
milk, yeah, I've never done that, but I've heard that, I've heard that.
I'm just saying, if you're in the kitchen, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
either the milk.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
I think almond milk, if you're not a milk drinker, you could do almond.
Yeah, I don't
too.
know. I don't have experience
Yeah.
with it, but I know carrier oil.
Yeah, definitely
Tell me
carrier
how
oil.
that works with milk.
Not
or
water,
something.
just not water.
But it's happened in class before. Someone's like, put peppermint on it, and I'm like, and I'm like, oh, perfect. In fact, I don't have it with me, but I often have a dropper of carrier oil, and I'm just like, dink, and then, oh, I'm fine. Everyone's like, oh, really? So anyway, that was the technique. That was releasing emotional patterns. You can get her book. You can obviously get it.
Yeah, we
Car-
have them here.
She has
Yeah,
some,
and
and
they're
just-
15 if you want it today.
Which is like, if you just go to Amazon, it's going to be the same. We're not trying to like sell books, but if you want it, she has them, which makes it nice. And a couple just kind of closing thoughts is we use the Valor oil because Valor helps us with energy balancing. And anytime you're feeling anxious or feeling unsettled, Valor just helps you to feel really calm and settled. So that's an oil that I like to use before I do any kind of emotional release, just because it helps you to feel calm. Because sometimes remembering those negative emotions like grief or fatigue or fear, whatever it is you're working on, can kind of stir some stuff up and make you feel a little bit unsettled. So I feel like starting off with Valor is a great way to just help us balance emotionally. And I use Valor every single day. I actually rub it right here, because that's our chakra, that's our personal power center. It's our area for, well, Valor means courage and confidence. So, and this is our personal power center that helps us feel courageous and confident. So I'll put Valor, right here when I get up in the morning, or on the soles of your feet, or on your shoulders, or wherever you want. And the other oil that I like to talk about is white angelica. And I don't know if I have enough for everyone to get a drop, but you can just pass it around, you can smell it. And white angelica is a blend that helps with protection from negative energy. So I call it my angel wings, and